I'm Suzanne Sibylla. I'm the owner of Sibylla and Associates, which is the premier leadership and employee development company. Overcome obstacles, reframe your reality, love life, and have growth goals. Change and shift your energy. Pivot. Welcome, everyone. I'm Suzanne Sibylla, your host of Pivot Now, where we bring on interesting, exciting, and dynamic guests who will share with us their tips, tricks, and life and business hacks to help you pivot in your life. I am super excited to bring this guest on our show. She's absolutely amazing. You're going to love her. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She is a retired police detective with a domestic violence department in Las Vegas. She also is a graduate of the University of Nevada in criminal justice. She is also an ordained minister. How cool is that? Oh my gosh, this is just so amazing. And she is a well-known, world-renowned international speaker, author, as well as award-winning filmmaker. Welcome to our show, Dr. Tamia Dow. Woo! Let's bring her on. Let's bring her on. Welcome to our show. Oh my gosh. Welcome. So great to have you on the show. Woo! Let's go. Oh my gosh. You have such an amazing background. I love it.
In my background, it's really a blessing, and that's why when you asked me to be on the Pivot Show, I was like, I'm pivoting left and right constantly.
I know, it sounds like it. So tell us about your pivots and give us some advice as to how you were able to pivot in your life and business.
Well, excellent. So I have this cup. This is so funny. So this is my smiley face cup, and I the day, every day, looking at my smiley face cup.
I love it.
Okay. So the one thing I have been told over the years of the things that I've been in, because I was in the Army. So behind me, I have my Army pictures. Over here, Army picture.
That's great. Oh my gosh.
These are all places that, for a female or a male, generally when you're about the business, you're not smiling. But I just have this natural love for life. And this is something that I really want to share with the audience. I think when it comes to pivoting, what you always have to do is you have to make the decision. We live a life of choices, right? So you have to make a decision that, number one, like our title for today says, I can and I will. So
love it. That gets a flame. I don't know if people can see that. I've got to put it in the screen. There you go. Flame. Woo! Love it. I can and I will. Love. Yep.
It's really important. And I always do with my coaching clients, I talk about the I am statements. You don't talk about, like it says, I can and I will. So therefore the title of whatever it is that you're saying that you're striving for, you are that. You say to yourself when you get up in the morning, I am a sought after journalist. I am whatever it is that you are seeking to do. I am the best cook. I am a renowned chef. You say whatever it is that you are striving for, because guess what? Our mind takes orders from us. Okay.
Yep.
And then if I say I can and I will. Because I talk to my friends and they'll say, Tamia, you're looking a little tired or blah, blah, blah. And they'll say, do you have, and they'll say something that's negative, like an illness that's flowing around, right? And I'm like, oh, no. I am fine. The thing is, if I were to agree with that person and say, I am, and say the negative thing, right? My mind says, oh, we are, right? And then you'll notice that you draw that in. You draw in what comes out of your mouth, right?
That's
if I say, I am fair, I'm going to have an amazing day. You know who it's up to? Me, right?
Mm.
Something horrible could happen in the day. I could be in an accident. You know, I could be delayed. I could be, you just don't know. Yet, what I always tell my clients and myself to do is to figure out why this particular thing happened and how you can use it for your good. Okay?
Mm.
Because you start to think, how could an accident be used for my good? You know, how could a delay in me getting somewhere be used for my good? But think about this. There's a timing in everything. There's a timing in our entire life. And the thing I believe about the timing, because you mentioned I'm an ordained minister. So I believe in a divine power. I believe in God,
Mm.
and I believe that He orchestrates and guides my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I late, even if I'm late because of something I did that caused myself being late, do you know there's a possibility that I could have avoided something that could have
Mm.
been far more detrimental to me had I been on time or on track, right? So I really want to share this with our listeners is that we must be very mindful. So I have the I can and I will mindset. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Very mindful and very intentional about all those things that are happening in our lives because they're happening for a reason and they're happening for our good. Even failure, right? I'll say that
Mm-hmm.
even failure is happening for our good.
I love what you're just saying. I mean, because I think that is so true. It's all about our mindset. I think it's so important, and what we believe in and what our thoughts are really impact our lives and our livelihood and our lifestyle too. So if we have that negative thought frame or thought mindset, a lot of times that impacts who we are. And so a lot of the questions though too, because sometimes there's this thing of like positive, if you will, positive toxicity or positive mind, too much of the positivity. So can you respond to that question of what do you think about that?
Okay, so that's interesting that you would say that. So in the last 2 weeks, I've lost 7 friends of various different ages, from
Mm,
Octarians, you know, my godmom passed away, 2 of my filmmaking friends passed away, you know, and in July, so this is why I say you asked that question about, you know, what is the lesson in it for me? You know, how is this going to be for my good type of thing? Is number one to realize, and bear in mind, it's not that I don't realize this because I came from military and law enforcement. So I know tomorrow's not promised to any of us being in those type of positions. But the thing is, you could go out the door right now and get hit by a car, you know, or literally your heart stop and you drop dead. So there's only an appointed time for us in our lives to be here. And when you talk about the positivity being toxic, I disagree. Okay, I
mm-hmm.
don't ever think that you can be too positive with what is going on in your life because, as we mentioned, your body responds to what you say and what
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if something coming out of your mouth is different from how you're behaving at home and what's going on in your head, remember again, your body knows this all, right? So if you're saying negative things to yourself in your head and then speaking out positive things and not believing it, then that I think is toxic because you confuse yourself and your brain. The power of life and death is in our mouth, and it begins and comes from your heart and your head. So to me, it's very important that we phrase. I literally have my clients write at an I am list. And I tell them it needs to be at least 100 I ams. So I am smart. I am beautiful. I am kind. I am loving. You know, I am positive ones. And then I tell them to read them every day, especially in situations where you're going back to your funk, right? In your head. Like
Mm-hmm.
yourself, you're a loser. I failed. I this. This is why I said failing could be a blessing, right? If you think about people who had created patents and things such as that, they failed more times than they completed it, right? They had to fail 700 times or 30 times or however many times. And the perfect thing to present, right? We have to think the same way. We have to not tell ourselves, I'm not going to do it because it's not going to be perfect. We have to tell ourselves, I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to learn, right? I always say, learn, do, teach, okay? Learn how to do it right. So I have helped over 70 authors tell their stories, okay?
That's awesome.
Different books, right? Now, when these were writing their stories, they were like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I don't know. Okay, let's write. Let's write. Okay. And as they wrote and they honed their stories and they got it, then we put the book out. But guess what? It wasn't the first draft they sent to me. Understand, we are the authors of our lives, and we speak life to ourselves and to others. So for me, when you say positive toxicity, I don't agree. If I say to you, you look beautiful today, I'm so excited to see what you're going to do today. If I speak life to the people around me, sometimes even, what did I show you? First thing, what did I show you? Even this, right? Even that smile can change people's lives, because there's people, and as you know, I'm a ordained minister, but I'm also called a chaplain. So I work with people who may be contemplating ending their lives, right? There's a lot of people losing their jobs. They're dealing with illness, they're dealing with loss, and not really knowing how to deal with it. They may be thinking on choices that are permanent for a situation that is temporary. And some just need somebody to acknowledge them, someone to smile at them, someone to be kind, someone to say, how are you? Sometimes in our society, we won't even do those basic human things for one another. We drive in our cars like this, when you could just take a second and look over and smile. Okay, yeah, that person may think you're the weirdest person in the world, but guess what? They may have needed that smile.
I love it. Love it so much. Thank you for that. That is so great. I love what you're just saying. Trying to get my little fire there and there. So we have this part of the show. We call it 3, 2, 1, go. So give us 3 tips, 2 strategies, and 1 action item to pivot our lives forward.
Okay, so I did jump over my pivot thing really quick. So to go from law enforcement and policing to filmmaking, which is what I do now, filmmaking, speaking, traveling, and doing, I had to ask an important question. This is a strategy, okay, an important question, right? Now, as I mentioned, I am beholden, and actually I work for him. I don't work for the world, right? So I asked the Lord, with all the training and the experience that I had received as a police officer, what I was supposed to do with the rest of my life. Because now I've been retired 13 times or 13 years. So I've been retired almost half the time I was working, right?
So
I had to say, what do you want me to do with this? Because I retired when I was 45 years old. Everybody's 40, right?
Oh my gosh.
Fully funded, 5 years old, right? And I said, Lord, what do you want me to do with it? I didn't want to sit on the beach. I didn't want to just travel the world, although I did. I have the cups to show. I got Prague, I got London, I've been everywhere, right? But while I was doing it, I asked the Lord, I said, what would you have me do? And he told me to make movies, help people tell their stories, write books, and coach. So that is what I pivoted from that hardcore stuff that I was doing as a police officer. Yet, bear in mind, all of this stuff I was doing as a police officer, I was helping people tell their stories. Because when I arrive on the scene, what's the first thing I have to say? What happened, right? So the person asks me what happened. We talk about some solutions and things such as that, right? And then the stories that I dealt with, as you mentioned, I was a domestic violence detective. So the first film the Lord had me create was a film talking about domestic violence and sex trafficking, which was something that I experienced as a detective. So the Lord allowed me to pivot and then use that training experience that I had now in a different medium, right? I went from law enforcement and government, the mountain of that, to arts and entertainment, right? And education, afterwards. So that's a pivot. And what we must think when we're doing a pivot, and the strategy is to ask your higher power, the Lord, what is it that you would have me do? Which is literally the question I asked him. What is it that you would have me do? Then the next part of the strategy is to figure out how to do that. Okay. Go from enforcement, running around with the gun and boots, right? to running around with the camera, where I literally I produce, I direct, I write the scripts, I cast the
Wow.
and you know what I'm saying? So I went
Yeah, amazing.
Yet, as I reflect back, that's what I was doing as a law enforcement officer. When I arrived on the scene and it was a dynamic scene, what was I doing? Okay, what's going on here? All right, I need you over here. I need you here. Send me medical, blah, blah, blah. I'm doing that already, right? So I saw how in that pivot that I had already been trained pretty much to do that, just in a little different realm. Do you see? So figure out how can you do it, figure out what you need to do it. And then the third strategy is who can help you? Who's help you go from police to media and entertainment? Who? And I met a bunch of mentors, actually. I met some very high named mentors. I'm not going to name them, but they were such a blessing in my life. There were many of them who taught me the art of business and how to be able to, market my films and how to be able. So those were three strategies. What were the two?
You said three? Two tips that you can give us.
2 tips. Okay, so the 2 tips are I can and I will. Okay.
I love it.
Right?
There you go. Yep.
Please, 2 award-winning filmmaker, speaker, and author is I can and I will. And realize that along the way, you will trip up. Everything's not going to be perfect. The first film I did, although it won an award, there was a whole long story in how that film got done. So, you know what I'm saying? But, and if someone looked at it, they would have said failure. But to me, my mindset was completion. And I won an award,
Yes, yeah. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, that is a huge pivot too. Though when you talk about it, I could see that you had a lot of those skills already in place, and it's pivoting to a different form, if you will, or format. So that's a great example. I love it. So what is one action item you can give our audience to pivot our lives forward?
Excellent. So I would encourage everybody for that one at the end is to write down your life skills. Because as you said, right, the life skills that I had from law enforcement, I was able to put in place over in filmmaking and art and all this other stuff, right? So write out the list of your life skills and don't forget a thing. I would almost encourage you to go through your phone and look at your pictures, right?
That's a good way. Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Love it.
Things that you've accomplished and done, and it could be something so bizarre as I know how to ski, I know how to horseback ride. I mean, just write out what you know how to do, because as part of your pivot, you want to look at your strengths. Don't focus on your weaknesses, focus on your strengths, because any successful entrepreneur, business person, any successful person focuses on their strengths and hires for their weakness.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that. That is so true. I mean, because I think a lot of times, especially in our schools, right? I think they focus too much on, okay, you got to be so well-rounded. You've got to know, okay, math and sciences and English. And then, we have a high schooler. So a lot of times he's like, well, why do I have to learn this stuff? Why do I have to know geometry, or why do I have to do this? And I think sometimes it's too focused on, I don't want to say the weaknesses, but yeah, a lot of times it's that way. And where I find that as adults, we can focus, and we need to focus on our strengths instead of the weaknesses. And like you said, as an entrepreneur, you can outsource your weakness, right? If you're not that good at organizational skills, hire a VA, for example, and be in your zone of genius. So I love that. I really love that. That's so great. Thanks for that. So how do you overcome obstacles? Because there are going to be obstacles or challenges in our path. What are your ways that you can overcome those obstacles?
So yes, that's a great question because I face obstacles all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I actually look at, even when I mentioned, 7 friends passing away, and
Mm-hmm.
7 friends passed away in the last 2 weeks. And I also, in the last 2 weeks, had 3 like award ceremonies for me. I got like a Vegas Icon Award. I got a award for being a chaplain. And I got another award. And it's so like to me, it's a little bit of an obstacle because I'm like, how can I say, oh, let's celebrate me, and I just lost 7 people.
Yeah.
So to me, it was hard. But I know there's a scripture that I always stand on, okay? And it's John 10:10, right? The first part of John 10:10 says that the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy, which is that frustration and all those things that we go through in our life. But it says, and Jesus said, but I came to give you life and life more abundantly, which means we need to choose a life of happiness and joy. And we need to look for the joy, right? And even my therapist says this. She says, if it doesn't bring you joy, don't do it, right? So the thing is, it's not that I cannot mourn my loss of my friends, but they're gone. They're gone now. And what I should be more mindful about, and what I am more mindful about, is choosing to live a full life and enjoy. I don't want to be laying in a hospital bed somewhere going, I really wish I would have. I'm living my life because I know that tomorrow's not promised to any of us. So if you have something, one of our listeners that's sitting on the shelf and you've been nervous about doing it, and you're like, I can't do it because, I want you to write down why you can do it and why you will do it. We're back to I can and I will, because obstacles are going to be there all the time. You can choose to focus on that obstacle or figure out, how can I get around, get over, or even go by, and not even deal with the obstacle. That's what we must do, because the first part of that scripture was to steal, kill, and destroy, right? Bring down your mindset, make you feel discouraged. But Jesus came to say abundant life. So you figure out how you can overcome that and continue to do what you want to do, because you can and you will if you put your mind to it.
I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it so much. That is such great advice, really. I mean, I have a client that actually, we were talking and I said, like, what is your word for the year? And she said, I find joy. I said, I love that. I love that. I said, in fact, can I use that? Because
Yeah,
I think that is so true. We make those choices, right? And we're always going to have obstacles and challenges in our path. And it's what we decide, what we choose to focus on. What we focus on,
exactly.
we give more energy to. So if we're focused all on the negative, or all on these challenges or the obstacles, it's like, oh my gosh, the can'ts, and I can't do this. That is what we see.
Right.
However, if we focus on the I can and I will, and we focus on the positive things, we will bring and attract more of that to our lives. So I love that you talked about
Yes, we
that. I find joy even in the difficult times.
Yes.
So
And
thank
that's a
you for that.
choice. It is a choice. We can choose to be down and solemn and, bitter and angry and, resentful, or we can choose to be happy and joyful and content and at peace with what you guys remember the serenity prayer, right?
Yes.
Have to realize what you cannot change, and then be content with that you can. So be the best person that you can be with the resources that you have, which one of them is your smile and your positivity,
Mhm.
or you can choose to be solemn and, people don't want to be around you, and be a suck, on people because your energy is not flowing right. Choose
Yeah.
your, and positivity is an energy. Smiling is an energy. Kindness is an energy. And all of them are a choice.
So true. So true. I used to work at a psychiatric facility where it was clinically depressed people. And so many times we would say, okay, you can't go in your room because many times if you're going to stay in your room, you start getting more depressed, right? So you'd have to go out. You'd have to be with people. You have to do the activities. You can only go in your room at night when it's time to sleep. And we had to do things like we did a lot of movement therapy and drama, where when you stand up tall and you're smiling, you start feeling better. When you're like this, down laden, you start feeling like, I don't know if I can do anything, right? And it's amazing that adjustment in the body and the physiology, it changes everything. So I think that's so true. Is what we focus on, we give energy to, and we focus on the positive. I love that. Love that so much. So where can we find you and how can we connect with you?
Well, Suzanne, I'm so excited that you brought me on the show. I'm excited to meet some of your folks and hopefully help them with that positive mindset. And you had asked me if there was something I could offer your clients, and I actually love to have conversations. So you can have a conversation with me with any one of my hats, as we've explained today, from chaplaincy to if you want to tell your story, to if you're just trying to figure out what it is that you need to do for you to be able to accomplish your I can and I will. You can find me at Director Tamia Dow at Gmail. Director Tamia Dow at Gmail. And let me know that you heard me on Pivot Now, and we will take 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Now, here's what I'll have you do, though. Jot down some notes beforehand, because 15 minutes can fly, because look how quick 20, 30 minutes went, right?
Yeah.
So we want our best and fit as much in the time that we have together. So tell me it's Pivot Now. You'll be sent a questionnaire, and then we will meet for 15 minutes.
That sounds great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And is there anything else you want to add, and anything that I haven't asked you?
Well, so as you guys can tell, I'm all about the mindset. I'm all about positivity. And I hope that those that are listening, when you leave and you get off this call or you finish watching this video, I want you to do your I am statements. I am challenging you to do your I am statements. 100. 100.
100. Let's go.
100 positive statements about yourself, because you can. And I hope you will.
I love it. Love it so much. Well, thank you so much for being on our show. You were amazing, a total blessing, and we really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Everybody be safe out there and focus on the good.
I love it.
The good.
Love it. Focus on the good. I love it. And to you, we appreciate you. We love having you watch our show every Tuesday, 10 o'clock Pacific time, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Live life abundantly. Pivot now. Change and shift your energy. Pivot